Good speech. Excellent.
Andrew Little.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I rise to support the motion and to echo at the very least the principles that the Acting Attorney-General has just adumbrated, and that is about the importance of the security and intelligence oversight that Parliament provides and as part of government. As the Acting Attorney-General outlined, the role of the Intelligence and Security Committee is to conduct financial reviews of the security agencies, to deal with petitions and bills almost as if it were a select committee. What is interesting about this committee is that its default setting is one of confidentiality, one of secrecy, and it requires a unanimous decision of that committee to act in an open way. The committee acts in a climate today, Mr Speaker, of the need for greater confidence, not only about our security agencies, but about the quality of the oversight that is provided. And a growing demand in the 21st century for open government, including when it comes to the conduct of our security agencies and the powers that they wield. And those powers are extraordinary and they need effective oversight. Most New Zealanders will agree that we are caught between this tension or balance between the need for security for our people, that people are entitled to move throughout their neighbourhood and their country with a sense of physical security, and that threats, whether from within or without, are properly monitored and are matched by the correct powers in order to provide that security. But equally, with the technology now available, New Zealanders are equally concerned about the ease with which their privacy can be intruded upon. And we must get that tension right. Mr Speaker, I have nominated David Shearer for three principal reasons. I've nominated him because he has an extraordinary background in dealing with security risks, and in some of the greatest trouble spots in the world. He headed the UN mission in Iraq, running a budget of $2 billion and 500 staff. He was the UN's humanitarian coordinator in Lebanon. He was the head of the UN's humanitarian office in Jerusalem. He was an advisor to the Afghan government. He coordinated relief to 460,000 Kosovo refugees in Albania, and the list goes on. And in that field work, David Shearer worked alongside security personnel and security agencies. He knows what it means in the field. And in this part of the 21st century, as we head into the rest of this century, where the risks we know to the world are defined by what is happening in the parts of the world where he has greatest experience, he understands the risks. He understands the social and cultural and ethnic drivers to the risks that are posed to us today. He has that background. The second reason is his experience here in Parliament with this committee when he was Leader of the Opposition, and more recently as a member of the Foreign Affairs Select Committee when it was dealing with the terrorism and security legislation at the end of last year. And it was David Shearer's advocacy on that committee, along with Phil Goff, that led to much tighter restrictions on the exercise of intrusive powers by our security agencies, and also much greater protection for those who are targets of our security agencies and better recourse to appeal of those powers. So he knows this stuff, and he's been experienced in it. It was David Shearer who led the call for a review of our security agencies. It was David Shearer who led the campaign to tighten up and improve the GCSB legislation at a time when the government has the numbers. And the skill of parliamentary advocacy when the numbers are against you is measured by the achievements that have been made. and I look at the legislation at the end of last year and I see the improvements that were made because of the knowledge and skills and understanding and experience of someone like David Shearer. And there is a third reason, Mr. Speaker, why I have nominated David Shearer, and that is because of the issues that the committee will shortly face in terms of the reviews that the Acting Attorney General just outlined. Because the truth is this: we need change in our security oversight architecture. This committee, which will be required to commence its review of the security agencies by the 30th of June this year, and the committee whom the Attorney General will consult on the terms of reference, and this committee to whom the reviewers appointed by the Attorney General will report, well, this committee has its own issues. There are conflicts in its present structure. This is a committee chaired by the Prime Minister to provide oversight for agencies for which he is the responsible minister. No other department, government department or agency has that arrangement in terms of its parliamentary oversight. Its default setting or a default arrangement for its meeting is secrecy. But we are in an age of openness now, and an expectation by citizens that they will know what is being done in their name by the government, that they will have a chance to have a say, as they did in open forums last year with the Foreign Affairs Select Committee. This committee acts for all intents and purposes as a select committee, and there is no reason why it should not have or extend to citizens the same rights and protections as an ordinary select committee. Greater transparency is warranted, and we saw last year that an ordinary select committee, the Foreign Affairs Select Committee, was capable of dealing with a bill that was highly sensitive, dealt with the security agencies, and could be debated and dealt with effectively in that ordinary setting. The other reality is this: our nation and our world faces more threats, worse threats, some real, some perceived. And in that climate, there are growing claims by our security agencies for more intrusive powers at the same time as citizens want greater openness. And we have to get that right. And Labor's position is that if we are to get that balance right, that debate itself must be conducted in an open forum and an open environment. And our position is that we can do that without compromising the integrity of our security agencies or the information that they deal with. These are the issues. This is the fundamental issue that will sit at the heart of the reviews this year and however long they take. And what is important is that we have advocates on that committee who understand those issues, understand the tensions, and are prepared to go into bat for the rights and protections of citizens in this very sensitive area. David Shearer has demonstrated in his field work prior to coming to this House and in his work in this House in this area that he is up for that task. And I would wager he would be the most effective MP in the opposition benches, if not indeed in the entire Parliament, that is up for that role. And so, Mr. Speaker, I support the motion.
Materia Turo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, according to the Prime Minister, the business of the Intelligence and Security Committee will be a lot less complicated without the Green Party asking pesky questions and challenging the status quo. Well, Mr. Speaker, I rest my case. John Key is quite right. National and Labour will be able to whip through the business of the committee with lightning speed without the Greens there attempting to provide the actual oversight that the committee is supposed to undertake. And that is precisely why it is so wrong to exclude us from its membership. By locking the Greens out, the two old parties have yet again colluded to entrench the powers of the Prime Minister and his spy agencies behind a facade of pretend accountability.